If you like combo decks, then this is going to be right up your alley. In today's video, we're going to be going over some test hands for the Adamancipator Spright profile that I recently posted on my channel, so if you haven't checked that out already, be sure to do so you have a better idea of the cards I'm playing and why I'm playing them. But with that being said, let's just finish shuffling up and go with our very first test hand. We're going to start things off with Impermanence, Blue, Guardian, Seeker, and a Book of Eclipse. So this is an interesting hand because we don't have like our best extender in Researcher, and we're kind of relying on Seeker to hit because we did draw a hand of a lot of non-engine, but at the same time, even if Seeker doesn't hit, we still have the Spright Blue as a backup play. So we're going to start things off by normal summoning Seeker and activate its effect to activate the top 5 cards for our deck. We're going to hit a copy of Doki Doki, which is really good because that pretty much just lets us keep playing. We're going to special the Doki Doki, but before we go any further, I'm actually going to start by summoning the blue, activating the blue effect in our hand. So either this is going to bait out a hand trap if this hasn't already, or it's going to let us grab a Spright Red, which is going to give us protection against cards like Nibiru. So since we aren't going to be able to summon Quackmire Guardian in the combo, since we want to use this to summon something else, we want to special summon out the copy of Spright Red right now, so we're just insulated from Nibiru right now. So we're going to start things off by activating the Doki Doki, discarding the Guardian in our hand, to special summon out a copy of Analyzer from our deck. So like I said, since we already have red on the board, we don't need another Quackmire Guardian, and then from here we can go into something else right away. So the thing is, you're going to want to keep a level 2 on the board, but at the same time, we also need to make space for Analyzer in case we potentially hit. So right here, we're going to need to start synchroing or linking something off. And I think the best option is probably just to turn this and the copy of Doki Doki into our copy of Herald of the Arclight. So not only does this make space, but worst case scenario, we can overlay it or synchro it with Adamancipator Analyzer, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to activate Analyzer to activate the top 5 cards of our deck, and then see what we get. We do hit a Quackmire Guardian, which is pretty good. We don't have anything in end phase to reveal with it, so that's important to remember that we probably want to get rid of it later this turn, unless we get a rock to our hand later on. So what we're going to do is we're just going to overlay these to summon out a copy of the Gallant Granite in the extra monster zone, just because we want to make space for Adamancipator Researcher, because what we're going to do is detach this, add a copy of Researcher, and then Researcher is going to be able to special summon itself, and even if we miss completely, that's totally fine, because we're still going to be able to go with our Spright combo. So I'm going to special summon out, add the Analyzer, special summon the Analyzer, and then from our Researcher, and then from here shuffle up a little bit so then we can activate its effect to activate the top 5 cards of our deck. We do hit Cathorthan, which is really good. Even though we won't be able to use this effect in the graveyard, we'll still grab the extra level 2 body, which is going to be huge. So what we can do here now is link these two off for a copy of IP Masquerena, just to start clearing some space once again. Then we're going to overlay these two for a copy of Gigantic. And keep in mind, like, this whole time we were insulated from like hand traps because we had Herald and Spright Red on the board. So now we can just go activate the copy of Gigantic effect, detaching whatever, it doesn't really matter. We're just summoning out the Jet. Jet effect is going to be able to add a copy of Spright Double Cross from our deck to our hand. And Double Cross is pretty insane because that just means now we have a way to protect our entire board of like small monsters, and we have Disruption to be able to steal stuff from our opponent. So what we can do next is finally just link these two off for a copy of Pit Knight early. So we have IP early, red, and Arclight, plus 3 back row, which is pretty insane. The only thing is, like, I'll mention is you probably want to keep Arclight exclusively for cards like Evenly Match, because unfortunately, like, you only do have this one spell or trap negate, and yeah, you just want to keep in mind that like you're kind of gonna want to save this exclusively for Evenly pretty much. But for example, if we passed our opponent, they're gonna have to deal with a early, so they lose a monster effect, they get one of their attacks made to 0, so they can't beat over our board. They have we have Impermanence, that's 2. We have Arclight, that's 3. And And then IP Masquerena can link like these 3 into a copy of Appaloosa, so that's more. That's 4 interruptions, just count Appaloosa as 1. And then 5 with a Spright double cross. Before we do all that, we can steal one of our opponent's monsters. And then, like, worst case scenario 6, we have Book of Eclipse. So definitely quite a bit that we're going to be able to end on. Even though we open like 2 non-engine cards in our hand, like we're only essentially playing with 3 cards that turn, but we're still able to keep popping off, which is nice. So that's going to do it for the going first test hand. Now I'm going to shuffle up and we're going to head on into the going second one. So going second with this deck, you essentially have access to more extenders in the form of Adamancipator Analyzer, which is able to special summon itself out if your opponent controls monsters and you don't. So that's going to be an additional way for you to get monsters onto the board when going second, which is really nice. So finishing shuffling up, we're going to start with Doki Doki, Seeker, Eclipse, Seeker, and Talents. So we're going to draw for turn, draw another Talents. So this is pretty interesting. We're going to start with a copy of Book of Eclipse, and then from here, normal summon Doki Doki, activate Doki Doki, discarding Seeker. So I'm just going to assume the Eclipse took care of our opponent's board. We're going to special summon out a copy of our Adamancipator Researcher, since they are both level 2 Earth Rocks. And then from here, I'm going to be able to activate the effect of the Researcher to activate the top 5 cards of our deck. It's going to be Imperm, Guardian, Researcher, Doki Doki, and Double Cross. So we're going to summon out the Guardian for sure. Special summon out the Seeker since we do control an Adamancipator monster, and do it all over again. So we're going to activate the top 5 to hit Cthorthan, Doki Doki, Challenge, Monster Reborn, and Signs. So we're just going to summon out the Cthorthan. And then from here, we have a couple of different options. So depending on what we need to do, if we need to eventually break our opponent's board, we have the option for that with a card like Dragite. But before we do that, I'm going to synchro these off into a copy of our Raptite, just to get more bodies onto the board. So we're going to activate the Raptite effect to excavate 5. And then this is pretty good because we do hit both the Supplier and the Dragite. I think in this situation, it's not really going to particularly matter which one you summon because they're both level 4s, but I think you want to draw a little bit more just in case you draw into a potential extra extender like a Monster Reborn or Adamancipator Signs or something. So we're going to special summon Dragite and use the effect to draw a card, draw a Researcher. And then the thing with Cthorthan is, since we do control a water and an earth monster, we can special summon itself back, but banish it when it leaves the field. So we're going to do that. Synchro these 2 for a copy of our Adamancipator Risen Dragite. And Dragite is really good not only because it gives us a negate later on, but it also means that we're able to potentially break all of our opponent's monsters. So we can use this effect, activate the top 5, we hit 1 rock, 2 rocks, and that means we're going to be able to bounce 2 of our opponent's monsters back to their hand, which is really powerful. Or sorry, cards, not even just monsters. So we can get rid of like spells and traps as well. So we're going to summon out, we're going to use that, bounce 2 of our opponent's cards, and then from here, depending on like what our opponent has, we have the option to special summon Researcher since we haven't special summoned it through its own effect yet, and then we can go into something like, we can just go straight into our Spright combo, honestly. So what we can do is, we can do this, detach specifically Cthorthan because we want the water back engraved, special summon out a copy of our blue, and then blue can grab like a copy of Jet, and then special summon Jet, and then that's going to be able to grab either starter or our copy of Double Cross. It doesn't really matter which one, but essentially like at this point we just have enough. We should just have enough for game. We had a monster negate this whole time to protect us from a card like Nibiru too, not to mention we had talents and stuff as well. So even if we don't kill our opponent with all this, like we're still ending on IP Masquerena and early with these monsters. So what we can do is link all these off essentially. So summon IP and then you summon out early. So just 4 monsters into the Masquerena, and then we have Double Cross as well. So it's gonna be very difficult for our opponent to really beat us, even if we don't OTK them, but most of the times we just should be able to. So yeah, that's gonna do it for the test hands for the Adamancipator Spright deck. Once again, if you haven't checked out the deck profile, be sure to do so. I've already posted up on my channel, so you have a better idea of why I'm playing certain cards. But with that being said, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.